Good afternoon. I'm Ian Perkins here backstage at the Blues Festival in downtown Baton Rouge with Jaron Blind Boy Paxton.
Jerron, close enough.
Sorry, my mistake.
I told you we should have run this a time or two before.
Well, every musician has a story, and that's where their music comes from. And today I want to get to know your story.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
Do you come from a musical family?
No.
Not at all?
Nope.
No, your parents didn't play
My
any
daddy
instruments?
plays drums in churches and stuff like that. And he used to play with some big people before they was big, and they got big and left him.
Aw.
They left him in Inglewood and left me in South Central. So we was left alone.
Well, where are you from originally?
I was born, raised, and conceived and educated in that order in South Central Los Angeles, 126 West 94th Street. My address is also my birthday.
Well, I understand you live in New York now.
I lives in New York, loves New York. Everybody, I love New York so much that I've been scared to go to New Orleans for 3 whole years. Just scared if I went to New Orleans, I'd never come back. But we gonna see next week.
Well, what do you like most about living up there?
Trains.
Trains,
I
mass
love
transit.
trains. You can't beat mass transit with a stick, especially when you can't drive, you know.
That's true. We've been trying to get ours together here for a while.
Yeah, it's all right. I got enough. As long as you stay at the Belle of Baton Rouge, you'll be all right.
So you don't come from a very musical family. How did you enter the world of music?
I entered the world of music on one cold, frosty morning, like I said, January 26th. And I was singing ever since then. That's the fact. My grandmother used to sing when she'd clean up around the house and be in the garden and all that. And I listened to that and I liked that. And that's some of the first music I ever heard.
So did you start singing first, or?
No, of course. Everybody starts singing first.
I guess you're right. What's the first instrument? Because I saw some of your set downstairs, and you had a guitar out and you were playing, and then you're up here now and you have a banjo and a violin or a fiddle. It's how you play it, right? Same instrument.
Don't make a difference to me. I play it. Let the smart people name it. There you go.
Well, what was the first instrument you picked up? And
First instrument I picked up was the fiddle. I picked that up when I was 12, and it sounds so scratchy. My grandma told me you ought to let that cat stay dead. And I put it in the closet and let it, mature 10 years and not touch it while I learned to play banjo and guitar and piano and all those things.
Interesting. So you started with the fiddle, had to put it away,
Oh, yeah, it was terrible.
then dived into a world of other instruments, and then came back to it.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, I would love to hear.
You want some of that?
Yeah, I do want some of that.
What you want to hear?
Whatever you feel like playing.
Okay. It's about my favorite tune. It's my favorite tune. It's a little French Indian tune. It's called the Five Twins. I'm one of 14, so 5 twins is a small family where I come from.
Thank you so much. Just love that sound and that style. You're from
South
you're
Central.
Not, yeah, you're not from here at all, but the style screams Louisiana Creole to me, at
You
least.
ain't been to South Central before then, I trust you.
No, I have not.
There's been a Creole population in South Central since Freddie Keppard came out there in the
Really?
teens. And they've been there ever since. And most of them come over there with my grandmother in the 50s. And I was telling people on the way over here, I was like, Baton Rouge and Shreveport and all that looks just like South Central and Compton and Inglewood. And I say it's decorated by the same people, so it might as well look the same. You know?
That song in particular, where did you learn that?
I learned that from friends I have back in California. We all got in the same sort of music around the same time, and that's just one that floated between us.
Well, that's how a lot of music is learned, from friends.
Oh, yes, sir.
Well, how did you break into the music business?
It broke me in. I didn't break it. I was, I'd made it up in my mind, and I still have that mindset. It keeps me from getting upset when things don't go exactly the way I want to say. I'm going to play music anyhow, and if I don't think about it too much and I keep it and enjoy it and let it be mine, it's going to be mine forever. So whether somebody listens or not, I'm going to play music. It's just having people listening right now.
May as well get paid for it.
Yeah, might as well. And when they stop listening, I'll still be playing music.
Well, what was your first gig where you knew that maybe this is what you were going to do? Because a lot of musicians come up and they don't, they play their instrument and they play for fun, but they don't necessarily know that that's going to become what it is they do for a living.
I think the first one that tickled me, I was with a little group called the Chandler Brothers. And his name, you take the street the street you live on, and that's the name of the band, and that's the group of brothers.
What was y'all's instrumentation in that
It
band?
was a bluegrass band. And I was 14 years old. I was big for my age. I was about 6 foot tall, big, round, colored, handsome boy, wearing a big white straw hat, and I call these my tuxedo overhaul. The black ones is what you wear for.
For the listeners out there, he's wearing these very nice overalls. Right?
Yeah, I didn't cut the Dickies tag off, but I'll do that next time. But yeah, I wore my tuxedo overalls, and my auntie bought me a big white straw hat with a big black band on it, said Edgewater Casino. And I went out there with the Chandler Brothers, and you take the street, which was Chandler, and your middle name, and mine was Zeno, my name, so I was Zeno Chandler, and I was the banjo player in this little bluegrass band.
At 14?
At 14. And I walked up there, and it was all these white fellas around me with the instruments. They said, first song's gonna be Sally Gooden. And they kicked it off, they played it. And my auntie, it was a little house party. She was so proud of me. She was just beaming with pride. She had bought this camera, got all this film, and that was the first minute, the first song, the first solo. I leaned over to the one microphone we had to play my solo, and everybody in the house started cheering so loud you couldn't hear it.
Sounds like an event.
And that was it. They cheered over my solo, and I dug back behind the band, and that was it. The crowd stopped cheering.
Oh, no.
And the banjo solo was over. And so my auntie got 2 choruses of people shouting and clapping with no banjo audible. So that was my first time. I said, I could get used to this. I get cheered and don't do a thing.
And you were playing banjo then. When did you start playing guitar?
I started playing guitar when I was 16.
So you broke in with the banjo, started with a few less strings.
Yeah, there you go, and work up to it. That was the idea.
Well, what made you want to start playing guitar?
As a matter of fact, the film Bobby Rush was in. The Martin Scorsese Presents the Blues, part number 2. I saw Skip James. I believe that was on a Tuesday.
So he's a major influence of yours.
Who was that?
Bobby Rush.
Yeah, by proxy. Ain't that where you from, Bobby? By proxy, Louisiana.
Well, every artist has you do a lot of writing, correct?
Say what now?
You do a lot of writing.
No.
No?
No, I'm a young man. I ain't got sense enough to write nothing.
Writing music?
No.
Songs of your own? No?
Absolutely not.
Well,
there's plenty of good music out there. There's no need for a man as young and green as me to, pollute the airs with my junk. I learned something, I'll write something.
That's right. You're 24, right?
I'm 24.
Doing great for 24.
Year of our Lord, 5749, the 20th of Shvat.
Well, what I was the question
We
I was
ain't in
going to
New
ask
York
you
anymore, is we?
is what's the oldest song that you have on your set list or in your repertoire that you still like playing? And I was going to ask, what's the oldest song you've written that you still play?
Well, there's where I grew up enjoying history. And I love my family's history. As I tell you, all my family's from here. My family's been in Louisiana for 500 years. And that's just the part we can trace. The Choctaw side of the family was over here when the traceable side of the family got here.
That's a lot of history.
So it's, yeah, and I loved my peoples, and I loved knowing where it was from and what they did and what they listened to. So I don't know, I can't think of that's probably an old one there. That's probably older than any I can think of right now. That French Indian tune, probably 200 or 300 years old. But there's some mess tunes I play on the banjo. And
No, that's
stuff
what I
like
was
that.
getting at. I'm sitting here eyeballing that banjo. I sure would like to hear you play it.
All right. I'll play you some banjo if you want. All you got to do is ask. What's the old one? My grandma loved to sing that song, "You Get a Line, I Get a Pole." That was her favorite one. I don't know how old that is. Here's one, I know it's old. It's called "A Soldier's Joy." You know, before all they had was whiskey. And if they wanted some narcotic, they had to do some shady things. So back in them days, the soldiers was crazy over morphine. So they call this the morphine, "Old Soldier's Joy." 25 cents for morphine, 25 cents for beer, 25 cents for morphine, gonna take you away from here. Love somebody, yes I do, love somebody, yes I do, love somebody, yes I do, Lord, Lord, and I won't tell you.
Thanks again. You don't hear a lot of people playing music from so far back these days. You said you love history. What made you decide that this is where you wanted to go with your music?
Well, just like with growing things, I think the most organic way is the most natural way and the way that you should do it. I heard it and I liked it and I picked it up, and later on I found out I had a little bit of connection to it, so I kept on with it. And I really love it. I love just the history of this. You know, this is a crazy looking thing, a banjo. You know, it's a stick with a hoop on it and a little short string up there that they brought over here because they say the Africans on the slave ships wouldn't dance to European music, so they always kept a banjo player on there. And, you know, that's how they say that's one story, how the banjo got over here.
I have not heard that before.
That's what I heard. And they say my great-grandfather, Joe Johnson, who was a Cajun and Choctaw. They say he played banjo, fiddle, and the guitar way back before the turn of the century. So I love the history that goes along with the music and all that. I think that's the biggest thing I like bringing to festivals. You know, you always have the main contingent, which is usually young and hip and with the electric guitars and things. See, I'm an old timer. I'm the youngest old timer. So when I get to be about 70, 80 years old, I'm going to scare the hell out of some people. I look forward to it.
I saw you up on stage earlier playing your set, and it was just you. It was just you, no band?
No.
Do you normally play with the band, or do you like to go solo?
I do. Well, when I do the roots here music, I like to play it solo because that's how most of it was performed. In New York, I tend to play with a lot of jazz bands. I play stride piano and six-string banjo and in jazz bands up there, and have a good old time.
I would like to see that. I wish we had a piano. Who was in charge of getting our piano up here?
If you get one, I'll play it.
There's something I wanted to talk about, the Playing for a Change Foundation.
Uh-oh. Somebody's a paparazzi.
Well, please take me through it. How did you become involved?
Well, my friend Keb Moe invited me over to his house when I was about 16 or 17. And said,
Your friend Keb Mo, like that's no big deal.
He was just another dude from Los Angeles who liked my mama's cooking, as far as I know. He invited me over to his house and play a little music. Said, well, you got a little studio out there and a couple microphones, see what you can do. I went down there, played a few things. There's a little green 16 to 17-year-old, and his friend Mark Johnson was the fella behind the controls and said, I'd like you to be a part of this thing. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to New York soon. Made my way to New York, and he found me out there and said, go on for it, and I did.
Now, for our listeners, tell us what the Playing for a Change Foundation is. What's its goal?
Playing for Change, from my understanding, started by Mr. Mark Johnson, is his venture to raise money to build music schools in places that doesn't have them.
Which is so cool.
Which is all over the world, in places that have very rich musical culture, especially the ones over in Africa, where for political reasons, some of these people can't make music or sing or buy instruments or play instruments.
And there's so much good music coming out of
And
Africa. It's the heart of so much good music.
There you go. And you can't let nobody kill it.
No,
so
sir.
he's building these music schools, and I'm happy he's doing that.
Well, where did it take you? Where'd you get to go doing this?
Where'd I get to go, playing music or playing for change?
Playing the Playing for a Change Foundation.
Great title. I went from Queens to Central Park, if that's perspective. I went about 30 minutes on the F train, if that makes that's where it got me.
How did it affect you personally, being part of this?
Well, yeah, like I said, I was a fella who's gonna play music whether folks listened or not, and that was another one of those situations. And then I looked it up one day on the YouTube, and it had 50,000 some views. I said, "Wow, I guess folks are listening."
Yeah.
You know, so that was something new to me. I said, 50,000 people. I said, "Boy, I wish I had $1 from everybody who saw it."
Oh yeah, you have YouTube millionaires everywhere.
There you go.
One of the great things about media now is it can really take something that people wouldn't ordinarily see and get it to the whole world.
Mm-hmm. And I kind of like that. It's raising people's attention about the older style music, which is my real passion, and I hope people, pay more attention to it because it's good music. The roots music, going back to where it comes from, is necessary.
And anybody that wants to learn about it, when they YouTube it, you probably come up.
There you go. There you go. My grandma always said you can't know where you're going without knowing where you've been. And, that's one reason I do what I do. I'm trying to find out where we've been and where we're getting to.
Well, you're still holding that banjo, and I really like making you play it. So if you don't mind, can I hear a song that you like to play for you? Because these festivals, people come out and they play mainly what people want to hear. But at home, when you play, what do you like to play for you?
You're asking dirty questions. I like playing a lot of my grandma's old favorites. I like playing my old favorites. Let's see what I like singing nowadays. You ever hear The Cat Come Back?
I love that song. My dad sang that to me when I was a kid.
There you go. Y'all know The Cat Come Back?
Oh, y'all are going to like this song.
It's a ghost story. And I got it confused with another one I like singing. Now old Mr. Johnson, having troubles of his own, had an old yellow cat and it wouldn't leave his home. Did everything could for to keep the cat away. Well, it wasn't nothing doing, cause the cat was there to stay. Said the cat came back the very next day. Thought he was a goner, but the cat came back, for he couldn't stay away. Lordy, 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 lord. Can't make it in tune all the time. Well, he gave it to a man who was going out west, told him for to give it to the one he loved the best. But the track had a bump and the train jumped the rails and nobody left alive to tell the tale. But the cat came back the very next day. Thought he was a goner, but the cat came back, for he couldn't stay away. Lordy, 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 lord. Well, he gave it to a man with a dollar note, told the boy to drown it in his little oaken boat, tied a brick around his neck, and it weighed about a pound, but they got to drag the river 'cause the little boy drowned. But the cat came back the very next day, thought he was a goner, but the cat came back, for he couldn't stay away. Lordy, 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 lord. Well, old Mr. Johnson said I killed a cat on sight, so he loaded up his gun with nails and dynamite. Waited around the corner for the cat to come around. Only half a dozen pieces Mr. Johnson's all they found. But the cat came back the very next day. Thought he was a goner, but the cat came back, for he couldn't stay away. Lordy, 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 lord.
I've never heard it played quite like that. My daddy used to play it. He'd pull out his guitar. Love that song. So, did they treat you all right out there, the audience?
Oh, the audience was great out there. When they played the electric rock music after I finished my set, the sound people were met with a harangue of boos. And I don't mean the kind that makes you get sloppy. I mean the kind that makes you go, which was lovely. It's lovely to hear that people have good taste out here. I love it.
They do. You won't meet the people that are more open to good music than Louisianians.
Sounds good.
Are you here as part of a tour? You touring through?
Accidentally, yes, yes. For the month of May, I will not be in New York for a long time. I got off the road with the Downhill Strugglers, which is a wonderful string band from New York, and we went from New York down to North Carolina and played a week down there at Appalachian State University and had a swell time.
Very cool.
It was beautiful. It's a beautiful ride. I left my coat and my jacket there. I likes it.
Well, where do you go from here?
From here, I go to New Orleans. And whatever's
Naturally.
left of me, they're going to box back up and ship back to New York. And we'll see how that goes.
Where are you playing in New Orleans and when?
I don't know.
Okay. You're doing it right.
I'm going to show up, and I'm going to see what goes.
Do you practice when you sit down with your instrument, or do you just play all the time?
Not anymore, because I'm a bum now, and my work ethic has gone way downhill from what it used to. When I was a little kid, first starting with music, you know how mama is, I was one of the kids
Yep.
you had to tell, put it down, it's time to eat. I took it with me to school, I took it with me everywhere, and I was playing all the time. So I never had to practice because I always had an instrument in my hand. And if ever there was something I wanted to learn, I'd learn it. And I'd work on it all day until it settled in my fingers, and I'd have it after a week or two.
And that's why you're here. That's what makes you a true musician. No one had to sit you down in a practice room or in a room and say, you have to practice for 30 minutes.
Oh, no, I got 30 minutes, that's it. I can't handle no more.
You play so much, they make you put it in the closet.
Absolutely, that's what happened. I played fiddle so much, my mama said she heard it in her sleep. And she'd wake up yelling and say, just put the thing down, I'd be dead asleep. Yeah, that's how it was.
Well, I'd like to open it up so that the audience can ask you some questions.
Doesn't bother me.
If that's all right with you.
So just don't make them too personal.
Anybody like to come up and ask Mr. Blind Boy a question? Come on up. Don't be scared. I don't know if he bites. He probably doesn't bite.
Only if she asks me to. And I'll nibble a little piece.
I would like to know I'd like to know if music was a part of your environment from other people in your family, or do you feel like music is innate, that you were born with the gift of it? So my question is, were you surrounded with music from other people in your family, or do you feel like it's God-given?
That's a great question, and it's phrased beautifully. Oh, I like that. She can come up again. Uh, I didn't give a kitty about music until I was about 12 years old. Now, it was always in the house. In Los Angeles, there's a radio station 88.1 that every Saturday it plays the blues. And my grandma was, I didn't know what she was doing back then, but my grandma had these strange rituals, which we found out were very Jewish. And she turned the radio down all the way on Friday night, and so she wouldn't have to turn it on Saturday, put a sheet over it. Come Saturday morning, she'd wake up, go in the backyard, and blast the radio as loud as she could till the house shook with the sound of the blues. And she did that from the first time when my auntie bought her one of them big old blaster stereo systems, and that was the ruin of my hearing since then. And it'd be playing in her bedroom, rocketing all the way through the house, so you can hear it in the backyard where she'd be on Saturday mornings, you know, doing whatever she was doing. And that's how I grew up. And we'd take long trips through the California desert, and blues would be playing constantly, blues and country music. And I'd heard it, and I learned a song or two to sing it, but I never cared too much about it. And then one day, I wanted to figure out how you rub a bow across some strings and get sound out of an instrument, especially something that sounds good. And from there on, I was just infatuated with music. And I found out that it was in me and it had to come out. So I think it's a combination of the two things. You surround yourself with good music. You sort of through osmosis gets the basics of how good music go. And then once you have a method of pulling it out of you, once you have an instrument in your hand, it seems like it flows out. Music is education, as I figure out. I heard my friend John Cohen said a beautiful thing about education. He said, people pretend that teachers won't have something to give you, and you're a vessel, and they're there to pour knowledge into you. No, that's not how it works. College and schools are there to let you know what you know and figure out the best way how to get it out of you. And I think music is the same thing. You've got what's in you, and once you get an instrument in your hand and a little bit of brains about how it works, it'll come out of you, and it'll flow out.
Sometimes you don't even know it's there.
I didn't know I cared. Boy, if I had a thought when I was a little fella that I'd be 24 years old playing banjos and fiddles and things, no. I thought I was going to drive a train when I was a little boy.
That is something I was going to ask you. If you weren't doing this, what is it you think you'd be doing?
I'd probably be driving a train. I like trains. I always did like trains. So I'd be driving a train probably.
Well, what artists really had the most impact on your music? Who do you draw from the most?
Oh, well, from the world of blues, I'd say a few of my biggest influences have been Booker White, Charlie Patton, Blind Blake, and Blind Lemon Jefferson. Those are about four of my favorites. From banjo playing, I just loved playing Uncle Dave Macon. Fiddle players, they're all good.
So your banjo playing started more with you enjoying the banjo and then branching out to see what you wanted to play rather than you hearing something and go, oh, I want to do that.
Say that again. Say it slower than in English.
I'm asking rather than hearing someone play the banjo one day, going, oh, well, I want to play what that person's playing. You started playing the banjo and then had to find what it is you wanted to play on the banjo.
I wouldn't quite say that. It all kind of happened at one time. When I got a banjo after, like I say, after I stuck with the fiddle for about 6 months or a year, and after the sound of killing a seagull with a bagpipe started to grate on my family's ears and mine too, I said, well, that's a good instrument right there. And I saw Earl Scruggs playing a 5-string banjo, and I said, that's a pretty good sound. I wonder what it sound like if I got one of those. I got one. It had frets on it. I could make chords. I could sing along with it. And
where'd you get it, your first banjo?
A place called Marina Music, right near the Marina Post Office. which is in Marina Del Rey in California, if you can guess that. And you know what's in Marina Del Rey?
I do not.
A marina.
Were you walking? Did it catch your eye? The one you wanted?
No, I wanted one that was cheap.
You just wanted one.
I wanted one that was cheap, and this is my first banjo. This is the one. This
Oh,
is
really?
the one I got, and I found out something about banjos. Buy them cheap.
The durable.
They're durable, and do you know the difference between good banjos and bad banjos?
I'd imagine the player.
Several $1,000s. That's it. You know, I paid $200 for this banjo, and it's my favorite one.
And you still got it.
I've played many expensive banjos, and this is my favorite one. So buy cheap banjos, gang.
Anyone else from the audience that has a question, welcome to come up.
Yeah, I ain't scared of you. Don't be scared of me.
Come on up, man.
I'm interested in knowing who your inspiration was. Who was your inspiration?
Lord God in heaven. Besides him, who else do you mean? Like I said, my grandmother she was the one that kind of, once I started hearing the older records by the older musicians, I realized they had a sound in their voice and their way of playing that I could hear when I looked at my people. When I looked at my people, I just heard this sound, and that was it. I got these records, and I thought, that's the same sound. That's the same sound I hear when in South Central, this surprised everybody. In South Central, everybody is from either Louisiana, Mississippi, or Texas. That's the entire population of South Central. It's changing now. Most of the people around there now were born there. It's getting there with the younger folks. But South Central was the only place I ever heard you can get drive-through chitlins. That's the kind of place South Central was. And, the grocery store that sold possum for the old folks and stuff.
I haven't seen that.
Mr. Turner's dead now, so they don't do that so much anymore.
I hear they call that your outdoor meat, though.
Say what now?
Possum, because you got to cook it outside.
It don't make a difference to me. It ain't kosher no way. I used to could eat it, but it can't no more. But yeah, that was it. It's just the sound I'd hear when I listened to my folks and listened to the music they liked, and just look in their faces. That was a sound that seemed to emanate from. And when I got into the old blues, in the old country music, I said, that's it. That's the same sound. That must be where they get it from, and they must influence the music, or one of those what came first, the chicken or the egg sort of thing. It was beautiful.
Well, good for you for sticking with what it is you want to do and letting it take you wherever it takes you.
Well, like I said, I'm going to do it whether people listen or not, and people listening today, I'm happy about that.
Well, I would love to listen to one more song on your banjo if you don't mind.
You like the banjo music?
I really like the banjo.
Well, what you want to hear?
I mean, you've done such a great job at picking out the songs so far.
Oh, my God. You're one of those pass the buck sort of guys, eh? Trouble with banjos, they get hard to tune after a while. But y'all did bring out the 36% humidity for me, so I thank you.
Always fun with the strings.
Trouble with this banjo, the head is made out of a piece of goat.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, and the goat starts to sweat. Here's an old one. It's called Jim Along. Some people call it Jim Along Josie. I'm from Louisiana, as you all know, and that's where the Jim Along Josies all go. Them Josies gather round when the bell do ring. This is a song that they do sing. Hey, get along, Jim Along Josie. Hey, get along, Jim Along Joe. Hey, get along. along, Jim along, Josie, hey, get along, Jim along, Joe. My sister Rosie the other night, she dreamed that she was floating up and down the stream. When she awoke, she began to cry, 'cause the white cat kicked out the black cat's eye. Hey, get along, Jim along, Joe. Say, hey, get along, Jim along, Joe. Well, I'm the boy who don't mind the troubles, 'cause I know they ain't nothing more than bubbles. And the only ambition that I do feel is showing you the signs of my heel. Hey, get along, Jim along, Joe. Say, hey, get along, Jim along, Joe. Well, the first president was General Washington. The one we got now is old Martin Van Buren. And although General Washington's dead, long as the country's strong, his name will float ahead. Hey, get along, Jim along, Joe. Say, hey, get along, Jim along, Joe. Hey, get along, Jim along, Joe. Say, hey, get along, Jim along, Joe.
Love it. I don't even know how I haven't asked you this yet. How'd you get the name Blind Boy?
Well, I got two separate eye diseases when I was 17 that took my peripheral vision, and I got a horrible nickname that I ain't been able to get rid of no matter how hard I try. There you have it.
There I am.
I've been trying to get rid of that name. So, you know, that's one of the problems. I found out my friend went to Mexico, and he found people with funny names. Like, you know, instead of Juan or Pablo, you'd find people named a Superman or a Spider-Man. And that's what happens when you let kids name themselves. And when they had MySpace, and I said, what's a good name? Blind Boy Paxton, that's a good one. And then I got it, and then I found out, oh, boy, you're going to start having trouble in a little while. And so you couldn't get rid of it after that. It was a name that stuck.
Well,
Never let 16-year-olds name themselves.
When did you get that name?
Well, I was about 16.
16.
And then I lost my eyesight when I was 17. Luck. The luck of the Cajuns, boy.
You got your blues name out of it, though.
There you go. There you go. I'm Blind Boy Fuller's protege.
So many artists here are so well into their careers, but you're 24. You're still going. Where do you see yourself? Where do you want to go with your music and with your musical career?
I don't make plans, because when I make plans, I get nervous. I'm gonna ride it until the wheels fall off, and when the wheels fall off, I'll get me another set of wheels. But I'm gonna keep playing my music until, you know, I get old, decrepit, and lame. That's my plan, and as long as people keep listening, I'll keep having a career in music. And when one day I might not have a career in music, and I'll find something else, but I'll still be playing, you know.
So you sound like you're pretty happy.
I'm ecstatic. And I had a plate of good food, and I'm sleepy.
Well, does anybody else want to come up and ask a question? We have this mic open right here. He's more than willing to answer your questions.
Doesn't bother me at all. I'll even take a request if you roll up a piano or give me a guitar.
No takers. Well, that about wraps it up for us today at the Baton Rouge Blues Festival. I have to thank our sponsors here. I was wondering if you'd play a little banjo to play us out.
Oh, you need a
little background
banjo
music. Yeah.
Okay, sponsors time. The Baton Rouge Blues Festival has been brought to you by Cole Youngers, Mysterious Braziers. If your wife gets mad at you, take her brazier and leave her flat.
Also, Backstage at the Blues Fest is brought to you by the Baton Rouge Blues Foundation and our sponsors. The Old State Capitol, of course, that we're all in. Manship Theater, Launch Media, DeNicolas, the Red Cake Event Planning and Clear Channel, with a special thanks to Stephen Johnson. Thanks to our interviewers and our audience. Please join us next year on Saturday, April 12th, for the Baton Rouge Blues Festival and Backstage at the Blues Fest. Thank you. Blind Boy Paxton, everybody.